Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lauren Hubele, and this is Gemmos Voices. And today I'm going to be speaking with Lena, and Lena is currently living in just outside of Foix, France now. But Lena is originally from Kyiv, Ukraine, which Lena, I'll have you share a little bit about yourself now.
Yeah, hi to everyone. So glad to be here, happy to be here. Thank you, Lauren, for inviting me. So yes, my story is that I'm Ukrainian. I'm from Kyiv, actually, from the capital of Ukraine. And when the war started, we became refugees and went to Georgia first and then to France. And now we are still here. I'm also mother of 5 children. And I'm Gemmotherapist for already 7 years, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Linda, that's what I was going to ask you. You've been using Gemmotherapy for 7 years in a practice with folks.
Yeah.
So is that dating back to when we first met?
Yes. Well, actually, when I started using Gemmotherapy, I did not think that no idea that I would be Gemmotherapist. So, yes, but here I am. And now I'm working more and more with trauma. So sometimes I'm even saying about myself that I'm becoming trauma therapist using Gemmotherapy in my practice.
Well, we'll hear a little bit more about that soon. I want to back up a little bit about your experience. Remind me, you became involved with Gemmos first through a practitioner that recommended them to you and your family. Is that right?
No, I first we had a serious problem with staphylococcus infection in our family,
Mhm.
and I was searching for different methods to use to help
Okay.
my family and me. And actually nothing worked for us, and we were using homeopathy and some traditional methods. Well, actually a lot. Yeah, we have tried a lot. And then I went through um, some post in Facebook, I guess, and someone mentioned this method, and I Googled and found your book, Lauren.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
how I came to your first course, and I started learning and practicing for myself, for my family. I found it really very effective, and yeah.
Yeah, and Lena, you also make your own Gemmos now.
Yes, yeah. So this is also a story because when we lived in Ukraine, I couldn't find Gemmo extracts there. So, and nobody actually knew about this method. So it was really difficult to transport to get them to Kyiv. So I decided to learn how to do this myself, and it's not really difficult, not hard. So now I'm teaching others how to make their own extracts, yeah, and have my own students as well.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely, Lena. And Lena, let's be sure that we put all your contact information in so folks can reach out to you if they're interested in
Mm.
having an appointment or learning more about making Gemmos. Great.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah, Lena, so I have a book coming out, and this book talks about the different approaches to Gemmo extracts, and then has all of the information I've gathered over these years for each extract. And one of the things that I think is important for people to understand is that they can come into Gemmos through many different paths, right? We have like a path through the acute cold, flu, and virus. We have a path through the nervous system. There's a very well-paved path in Europe in using Gemmos for a very allopathic, right, symptomatic path. And then we've created in the community you have been contributing to for all these years, more of a holistic path, right? That comes in with the nervous system and the adrenals and elimination, and then we start working on the deeper chronic problems. Today, we're going to look at that path for the nervous system, but particularly when things are very acute. The situation maybe reactivates old traumas, and that nothing else really can touch the situation. So I think it's best if I turn it over to you at this point, and then I'd love to pop in and ask questions and bring a little more clarity to what you're sharing.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so actually, I think that gemmotherapy is really highly effective in addressing trauma and nervous system regulation. Maybe because it's working on cellular level, it's working with our cells, yeah. So it has this regenerative power for not only for detoxifying our body, but also for supporting our central nervous system and addressing autonomic nervous system when it's needed. So it brings, like, it gives this resilience we need when we are addressing our chronic situation or when we are dealing with acute situation. So today we are going to talk about acute trauma response. Yeah. So this is basically when I started working with Ukrainians, with those who faced with the first war days. Yeah, and some of them were trying to escape and became refugees, and others stayed in Ukraine, and we are facing with these dangerous events. So all of them were going through some similar but sometimes different responses. And here, what I found very useful were my knowledge about polyvagal theory and vagus nerve. Yeah. So it happened like a miracle for me that I passed through the polyvagal theory course before the war started. So I was actually quite informed in how our nervous system reacts to different trauma. Yeah. So, and this is actually very useful for everyone, I guess, to understand his own responses, his own nervous system. So vagus actually regulates the nervous system by controlling these responses of stress and giving us safety, feeling of safety when we are in a calm, safe mode. Yeah. So when someone faces acute trauma, the response can be fight or flight or freeze response. Yeah, that is called like dorsal response, yeah, dorsal mode. And what I found, people who were going somewhere in the first days of war, so this is my experience, the first experience with this acute trauma situation, showed that people who were trying to escape and leaving the country and going through these awful days, they were first in this fight or flight response. And some of them already were my clients, and they wrote to me, and I was myself in this kind of traumatic response as well. So I understood this from within, how my body reacted to all this, and I understood that all of us have some similar symptoms, I would say. Yeah. So what I found at first, that first 1-2 Gemmos will be really very helpful to help maintain this first, maybe not calming, but some kind of regulation, yeah, for our nervous system when we are in this frightened mode. So these first Gemmos were actually 3 of them. It was willow, white willow. It was hopes and oats. These 3 first central nervous extracts that actually we use mostly when we are just starting, yeah, working with our nervous system. They were helpful here too. So willow worked very good when we were dealing with this dizziness in the body, feeling not stable at all, feeling lots of fear. Yeah, and hopes, it was really very good for those who could not stay motionless, yeah, who are trying to make like a bit chaotic as well, yeah, in this search for safety, and maybe even trying to use some alcohol, cigarettes, like trying to find some safety in these substances. Yeah, that was about hopes for me. And oats was for those, basically for those who were refugees, who were trying to escape, yeah, who were leaving the country. And so these were people without roots. People who lost their homes, their families. Well, roots, it's not only about the house, the home, yeah. It's also about the family, people around them, those who supported them, who protected them. So yes, basically these 3 Gemmos were the first that were most working for us.
This is really interesting. So just let me repeat. So white willow and all 3 of those work both as autonomic nervous system harmonizers and central nervous system harmonizers. They're all 3 in that first group of 6 we pick. I think it's interesting because the 3 that you've isolated are the 3 out of the 6 that work on both systems, right? So those are the ones for very extreme situations, which of course this was. And so the oats, this absolutely, I have the picture of this, and also oats being an adaptogen to meet the needs when you're fleeing and give energy, because you need energy to flee. And then the hops for those that were, it sounds like what you're saying, we're really checking out emotionally a little bit and unable to make decisions because they couldn't come into their bodies and think. And then white willow being more for that fear and confusion around the fear. Because I can imagine that one of the biggest themes was more information than anyone could possibly process, and all the cues of safety being gone.
Yeah, it was something like really very unexpected for us. We were waiting for the war to start, but no one could believe that it would happen. So it was huge stress. Nothing really more stressful in our life happened before. So yeah, and what is really important to understand when working with trauma, that trauma can overwhelm our nervous system in such a way that it's going to be stuck, yeah, in this survival mode. So these first moments, these first days are actually very important to give support to this nervous system. Yeah, and not to be stuck in this serious states. And it happens quite often. So that is why I want just to add, for those who are just learning something new now, that you can use Gemmos in these first days of really serious trauma events quite often, not once in a day, but even once in an hour, once in 15 minutes, if it's really something serious happening in your life, yeah. Because your nervous system is searching for these cues of safety, and Gemmos is something that can give them, yeah.
Yeah, Lena, in my mind, I immediately equated that with the state the body is, for instance, in a fever. And
Yeah.
The fever, of course, is serving a purpose, and all the actions that are occurring in the body. But as it stays in that feverish state, unable to neutralize the pathogen, we can take quite a bit more extract than we would in other times, because we're
Yeah.
sending, if we think of those as reminders, right, to the nervous system. That's exactly what you're offering there in the form of the nervous system, a reminder. And then, the world is, as they know it, is changing. And so they're going to need that reminder more often.
Yeah, so it's all about acute state. So
Yeah,
it's
an acute
it's
state, right?
just, yes, just we are talking now about acute state for our nervous system, but it's working similar.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so this makes it hard for the body to return to a calm and regulated state.
yeah,
And it happens, it like when it's hard to return back to your calm state, then your body is getting stuck, yeah, even when the danger is past.
yeah,
So here is, yeah, another step that I made for these people and for myself was asking about more and more symptoms they were having, yes, because first it's just, I'm in stress, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I just need support, yeah. So here these first three Gemmos were useful, and then when people are already explaining that I have problems with the heart rate, or I have problematic breathing, or maybe I have headache, or maybe I have digestive symptoms, yeah. These all symptoms are actually explaining us how the vagus nerve is really important, yeah, working in our body. So it connects our brain with all these essentially important organs in our body. And this second step for me was giving this assistance, yeah, with the Gemmos, giving this assistance to these organs through nervous system. So depending on these symptoms, I could add, for example, common fig or walnut when there were some digestive issues, because many people were complaining on these symptoms of digestive
sure,
dysregulation, yeah.
yeah,
And or probably hawthorn for those who are complaining on the heart,
sure,
or lethe for those who are having troubles with their breathing.
yeah,
So these are already some autonomic nervous system extracts, and they were not working alone. Anyway, I was using them along with the first Gemmo extract. So it was like building protocol for this acute state.
yeah,
And you were asking me about some cases, and I said that all of them were quite similar. But anyway, these symptoms would just be different. Yeah. So I was always choosing like one or two first extracts and then adding more for this autonomic nervous system regulation.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so Lithi, if there are problems with breathing, Hawthorne, if they're struggling with palpitations, or
Yeah.
also just that ache in the heart, right? And that,
Yeah, it can be different. It can be quite serious as well.
right,
Sometimes we are thinking that something wrong is with our heart, yeah, when we are in stress, but it can be also just nervous system response.
sure, sure. And then fig or walnut for digestion. Yeah. How do you decide whether you suggest fig or walnut?
Well, fig was my priority, I will be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah,
because it's working with the vagus. We know just,
sure.
I guess we know only two extracts, yes, that are working with vagus nerve. So fig is one of them, and it was actually very helpful. So it was not only working with our digestive symptoms, yeah, but also with vagus nerve. It's really good to pair it with a willow, for example. It's really good working, yeah, in this state. But sometimes walnut was also useful, and I could also pair it with the fig together for those people who were just trying to isolate
Yeah. Yeah. I was
walnut.
thinking about that, how important walnut actually would be in that time, right? Where the,
Yeah, but actually in this acute situation, it's usually not the state not of the first days. It
yes.
usually goes a bit like further, yeah. It's
Yeah.
something,
What I can imagine, and I do remember because we were in conversation with
yeah.
each other during that time, of how the state has these layers to it, because the trauma doesn't just end when you get to a safe place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah. What about that next state? So once folks that you were working with found safety somewhere, however they managed it, whether they created it for themselves and stayed behind or went to another land, are there other extracts you found that came in useful then when we're trying
Yeah,
to regulate on this deeper level, right?
usually what I faced with was were some problems with sleep as well.
Yeah,
It was like the third stage, I would say. So
yeah,
first, I want to be more detailed. First, I worked with these three extracts, main extracts, yeah, for our central nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Then I added some of the autonomic nervous system extracts for specific symptoms, yeah. And then I always asked people, my clients, my friends, what about your sleep? Because sleep is something that is really quite often affected with the stress. So quite often I gave another extract in addition to this protocol that was already working for them. Or sometimes I suggested the extracts from the first group to be given in the evening as well. For example, willow or hops. These two are great extracts to help with the sleep issues, especially when dealing with the stress. So it depended. Actually, not all the clients have had all the Gemmos on hand. So
sure,
sometimes I had to be really very creative.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, Gemmos are so wonderful in this. And yes, they're just working with everything they're dealing with. And sometimes you can't find right Gemmos that is right in your head, but the person says, well, I have this one, and you say, okay, try, and it's working.
Sure. Sure. That's a beautiful thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
this is the connection with the nature, and this is actually when we are feeling that we are part of the nature.
Yeah. Lena, I was thinking about this point then where you're trying to then build up resilience, right? And um, wondering about these other extracts, if you found yourself um, offering, for instance, mistletoe or gray alder or blackthorn, any of those that we use for supporting resilience and helping organize the response.
What I remember, I was quite often suggesting blackcurrant extract
Sure. Yeah.
for nervous system for those who were moving to another place of living, trying to find another home. Yeah. So for those who were still in fight, and not in fight, but flight, response, in flight mode, and they had to find more energy to make all these things organized. So blackcurrant was something really helpful, and this is extract that is quite often is on hand,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was something really helpful for those who were who were in this fight or flight mode, not in the freeze mode.
Sure.
But first days of the war, if we are speaking about this acute days, acute states, they were more about fight and flight mode than freeze.
Yeah.
Lately, there were more and more people who were going through this freeze response as well, like dorsal response, when they couldn't just move, could not find energy to do something, going through depression and no hope. Yeah. But this is more something that happened lately, I would say so. And I think it's more about chronic states as well, when the trauma is stuck in the body.
Sure.
Yeah. So what helped me as well was learning more and more about not only polyvagal theory but trauma therapy, and I went to learn from Peter Levine and Stephen Porges and Ariel Schwartz. All these wonderful teachers gave me more information on how we respond to trauma, and I could use this information to use Gemmo extracts. This is really wonderful when you can do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In all of this work, is there one Gemmo that you found never let you down with supporting someone?
I think it's Willow.
Yeah. 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 That's lovely. Yeah. I think about it. It encompasses a lot,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, if we imagine this tree, it's something that gives us this protection when we are sitting just near the tree, yeah,
Sure.
under the branches falling down.
Yeah. And it has a very mothering energy about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. Anything
In,
else you'd like to share, Lena?
um, I want to share that a bit more about children, I guess, that children are going through the same traumas as we are. And there are some different issues, like we can't use willow, for example, for small children. Yeah. So usually I suggested fig and silver lime for them,
Mhm.
and they were also working really very good. And yes, what else? Sometimes, like people, this is, I think, really important. Sometimes people are using Gemmos or some other instruments in acute state, and when they are getting better, they say, well, I don't need them anymore. And it's not true, because sometimes we can't understand that we are still in the stress. Yeah, we are still going through some difficult times. So Gemmos help, and they're doing their job. But when you are just stop taking them, you can just fall down really quickly. Yeah. So you have to give this support. Sometimes you can use Gemmos less,
Sure.
like you're starting from once in an hour, and then 5 times in a day, and then it can be 3 times in a day, and then just once. But don't stop it.
Yeah, I think that's particularly true in these very intense states because, as we know, there's always healing that's happening. And
Mhm.
what you've been talking about is that top layer, right?
Yeah.
And then healing the residual, the inflammatory response that's in the body from all that continual stress is so important.
For me, it's also a topic on holistic instruments, because when we are healing holistically, um, we feel like our body is healing by itself, not with the help of other instruments.
Yeah.
So it's really a challenge for some people to understand what is working in their body by itself and where is this support, this help of Gemmo extracts. So when they feel like this, like I'm healing, everything is going better and better, and they just think, okay, I can stop using Gemmos and everything will be fine. And here you can find this actually the truth that Gemmos were doing their job. So sometimes it's a challenge to understand. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. Lena, I just want to thank you so much for this rich sharing. And um, I think that what you have discovered applies to so many different traumatic situations. Not only a
Of
war
course.
situation, but it could apply to the sudden death of a child or um,
Natural disasters.
ex-
Yeah.
exactly the
Mhm.
wildfire fires in California, or
Mhm.
the things where all your cues of safety are taken away and you don't have context for what's happening. Right.
Yes, and in this state, you don't have connection with yourself, with your body, and with the people around you.
Yeah.
So basically, the main idea of Gemmos in this case is to give, to restore this connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, wonderful. Lena, thanks so very much. I'm so grateful for your sharing today.
Thank you for letting me be here, yeah, and speaking about this. It's really an important topic for me as well.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
it's so beautiful that through this biggest life challenge that anyone could imagine, you've been able to take this and help others.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.